First contact on the abyss. Forge. The celestial Voyager decelerated as it approached the massive dark silhouette against the backdrop of distant stars. The Concordat exploration vessel's engines hummed down to a gentle pulse, its sensors extending, invisible tendrils toward the mysterious object. Commander Wisla Tyr stood tall on the bridge, her forearms crossed in a posture of contemplation. The slender Quatrian's iridescent skin reflected the blue glow of instrument panels as she studied the main view screen. "Confirm those readings," she ordered, her voice melodic yet firm. "I want absolute certainty before we proceed." Science Officer Nexil, a brantoid whose translucent gelatinous form housed floating neural clusters, pulsed with blue light as he worked his console. "Confirmed, Commander." Nexil's voice resonated through his vocal synthesizer. "The vessel matches nothing in our archives. It's approximately 3 kilometers in length with a hull composition unlike any known alloy." He paused, his neural clusters flashing with concern. "The environmental readings are troubling." Security Chief Vorn grunted, the reptilian Keswick scales darkening with interest. "Define troubling." "Radiation levels exceeding 300 rems. Atmospheric toxicity that would dissolve standard environmental suits. Temperature fluctuations between 120 and 150 degrees Celsius in different sections. And..." Nexil hesitated, his form pulsing rapidly. "Evidence of unknown biological contaminants." The bridge fell silent. Commander Tyr's secondary eyes narrowed, while her primary pair remained fixed on the derelict ship. "Classification?" she finally asked. "Based on environmental hazards alone, it registers as a Class 210 Deathworld ship," Nexil replied, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "Several crew members gasped. Class 210 was a designation reserved for environments so hostile that most Concordat species couldn't survive even brief exposure without specialized equipment. "Notify Concordat Command," Tyr said after a moment, "and prepare a containment team with full Class 5 environmental protocols. Whatever secrets that ship holds, the Concordat must secure them before anyone else does." 6 hours later, representatives from 3 Concordat species gathered in the Celestial Voyager's preparation bay. Commander Tyr supervised as crew members donned the most advanced environmental suits available. Sleek, silvery full-body containment systems worth more than most starships. Beside her stood Captain Mrek of the Keswick Military Division, his reptilian features set in a perpetual scowl, and Science Director Ezel of the Luminary Institute, whose crystalline body structure refracted light in hypnotic patterns. "These suits cost more than my first command," Mrek growled, watching his soldiers prepare. "They better hold against whatever's on that death trap." "The ship appears ancient," Ezel observed, her voice chiming like crystal bells. "Likely abandoned, after whatever catastrophic event created such hostile internal conditions." Commander Tyr nodded, watching as the final preparations were made. "Remember, we're looking for technology, design elements, anything that might be valuable to the Concordat. But safety is priority 1. At the first sign of suit compromise, you return immediately." The boarding team of 15, 5 from each species, completed their preparations. The suits were masterpieces of engineering, designed to withstand extreme conditions for up to 6 hours. As the team entered the shuttle that would take them to the derelict, Science Officer Nexil approached Commander Tyr. "Commander," he said quietly, "we're detecting something unusual." "Define unusual," Tyr replied, all 4 eyes focusing on the brantoid. "Movement inside the ship, and energy signatures suggesting some systems remain operational." Tyr's skin shifted, from iridescent blue to a concerned purple. "After all this time, how is that possible?" "Unknown, Commander. But the readings are clear." The shuttle docked with the ancient vessel with a metallic clunk. The boarding team activated their suits, external lights illuminating the dusty airlock chamber they'd attached to. "Atmosphere is toxic," reported Kayla, a luminary technician. "Radiation levels are extremely high. Our suits are holding, but I wouldn't recommend staying longer than 4 hours." Captain Mrek took point, his weapon ready. Let's move quickly. Then, they forced open the inner airlock door, revealing a long, dark corridor. Strange symbols covered the walls, unlike any language known to the Concordat. The team moved forward cautiously, their heavy boots echoing against the metal floor. These designs, Izel said, studying the ship's interior through her crystalline facets. They're built for durability, not comfort. Whoever constructed this vessel expected it to endure significant damage. A warship? Asked Mrek. Most likely, Izel agreed. They continued deeper into the ship, passing rooms filled with equipment, too damaged to identify. But as they approached what appeared to be the vessel's central section, things changed. The dust was less thick. Some lights flickered weakly in the ceiling. Is it my imagination? Kayla asked. Or does it look like someone's been here recently? Before anyone could answer, a loud clanging sound echoed down the corridor ahead. The team froze, weapons raised. That was not a random systems failure, Mrek whispered. Another sound followed, something that almost resembled speech, but in no language they recognized. We should call for backup, suggested Nexel, his gelatinous form now pulsing with anxiety. No, said Tyr firmly through their comm system. Whatever's making that noise, we need to identify it. This is first contact protocol now. They moved forward slowly, following the sounds to a large doorway. The door was partially open and light. Actual functioning light spilled from inside. Mrek signaled, and the team took positions on either side of the door. With a nod, Mrek pushed it fully open and they rushed in, weapons ready. What they saw made them stop in confusion. The room was clearly the ship's engineering section. Ancient control panels lined the walls, many now active with blinking lights. In the center of the room stood a group of bipedal beings they had never encountered before. These creatures wore what looked like simplified environmental suits, far less advanced than what the Concordat team wore, with clear helmets that revealed pink-skinned, fur-topped creatures with only 2 eyes and flat faces. Most shocking of all, these creatures were working on the ship's systems, using tools to repair damaged components. The aliens looked up as the Concordat team burst in but showed no sign of alarm. Instead, they seemed merely annoyed at the interruption. The tallest of the strange beings set down a tool and stepped forward. Inside its simple helmet, its mouth moved and a rough, deep sound emerged. The universal translator in Tyr's suit attempted to process the sounds, finally producing, well, took you folks long enough to find us. Welcome aboard the Abyss Forge. The Concordat team stood frozen in shock. These creatures were not only surviving in conditions that should have killed them instantly, they were working as if the deadly environment was merely an inconvenience. What are you? Tyr finally managed to ask. The creature made a gesture with its upper limbs. Name's Commander Sarah Reed, human, Earth Special Operations Division. It pointed to the others. That's Martinez, that's Wong, and the one checking the reactor core is Patel. All human. Human, Izel whispered, frantically checking her database. No record of this species in Concordat archives. Commander Reed seemed amused by their confusion. Yeah, we tend to keep to ourselves. Been that way for a while. How are you surviving these conditions? Mrek demanded, gesturing at their relatively simple protective gear. This is a Class 210 Deathworld environment. The human called Reed made a sound that the translator identified as laughter. This is nothing. You should visit Earth sometime, though you'd probably need better suits than those fancy things you're wearing. Another human joined Reed, carrying what appeared to be a tool case. We found this old girl drifting about 4 months ago. Been fixing her up since then. Got most of the primary systems back online already. Who authorized you to salvage this vessel? Tyr asked, suddenly alarmed. This ship falls under Concordat jurisdiction. Commander Reed's expression turned serious. Let's get something straight. We found this ship. We fixed this ship. And most importantly, she pointed at a symbol etched into one wall, then at a similar mark on her suit. This ship recognizes us. What do you mean, recognizes you? Izel asked. Before Reed could answer, a deep, resonant voice filled the room, seemingly emanating from the walls themselves. Genetic compatibility confirmed. Inheritor status acknowledged. Command functions accessible. The walls around them suddenly illuminated with new displays. Systems that had been dormant sprang to life. The ship was awakening. "What's happening?" Tyr demanded, her forearms instinctively moving toward her weapon. Reed smiled, though there was no humor in it now. "The ship's AI is fully online. It's been partially active since we arrived, but it needed time to verify our genetic code." "Your genetic code? Why would an ancient ship recognize human DNA?" Nexel asked. A holographic figure appeared before them, humanoid, but with features both familiar and alien. Its body shimmered with energy patterns that shifted and flowed like liquid light. "Because they are the inheritors," the AI said, its voice deep and melodic. "The descendants of those who built this vessel." The humans looked as surprised as the Concordate team. "We suspected something like this," the human called Wong said quietly. "The ship's controls were too intuitive for us, almost like they were designed for human hands." The AI nodded. "This vessel, the Abyss Forge, was constructed by the progenitors to combat the Harbinger during its last awakening cycle. The progenitors seeded many worlds with their genetic material before the final battle. Earth was one such world." "You're saying humans are descendants of the warriors who built this ship?" Tyr asked, struggling to grasp the implications. "Partial descendants," the AI corrected. "The progenitor genetic material merged with Earth's evolving life. The result was a species with remarkable adaptability and resistance to environmental extremes. So that's why we can handle all this radiation and toxic air," Martinez said with a nervous laugh. "We've got ancient alien supersoldier DNA. Your natural evolution on a high-gravity, radiation-exposed planet with diverse environmental hazards enhanced these traits," the AI explained. "The progenitors would be impressed." Reed turned to the Concordate team, her expression grave. "This changes everything. The Harbinger is awakening again. That's why we've been working to restore this ship." "The Harbinger?" Mrek asked suspiciously. "What is that?" Before anyone could answer, the ship trembled. Lights flickered, and new alerts appeared on the walls. "Incoming transmission," the AI announced. "Concordat, emergency broadcast." A new hologram appeared. A Quatrian admiral, her skin pulsing with urgent patterns. "Celestial Voyager, this is Admiral Shevin. Respond immediately, we have a critical situation." Commander Tyr activated her communication system. "This is Commander Tyr. We are aboard the ancient vessel with representatives from an unknown species called humans." The Admiral barely acknowledged this surprising information. "Commander, 2 Outer Rim outposts have gone silent in the past 12 hours. Our scout ships report total system consumption. The planets, the stars, everything's just gone." The hologram flickered out as the transmission ended. Reed looked at the stunned Concordate team. "The Harbinger is awake and feeding. It's moving faster than we anticipated." "How do you know so much about this threat?" Tyr demanded, suspicion mixing with growing fear. The human called Patel stood and walked to a wall panel. She pressed several controls, and a star map appeared, showing a bright point labeled Earth, and a dark spreading shadow moving through space. "Because it's coming for us," she said quietly. "Its path leads directly to our solar system. We've been tracking it since we detected the first anomalies." "Why would it target your world specifically?" Izel asked. The AI answered, "Earth's biosphere contains more diverse energy patterns than most life-bearing worlds. The Harbinger is drawn to such diversity." Reed's face hardened. "We found mentions of the Harbinger in ancient Earth myths, stories, about a darkness between stars that devours worlds. When our deep space sensors detected something matching those descriptions, we started searching for answers." "And you found this ship," Tyr concluded. "Not by accident," Wong added. "The Abyss Forge was sending out a signal. Very weak, very specific frequency. only detectable by systems using certain progenitor-derived technology. Like the technology we reverse-engineered from artifacts found on Earth, Patel explained. We didn't know what the signal meant, but we followed it. Mrek finally lowered his weapon. So your people sent you to investigate this ship because you believed a legendary space monster was coming to eat your planet? Pretty much, Reed nodded. We're practical that way. The Galactic Concordat has millions of ships, advanced technology, thousands of member species, Nexel said. Yet you think this one ancient vessel is your best defense? The AI's hologram gestured, and new displays showed the ship's weapon systems, strange, complex designs unlike anything the Concordat used. The Abyss Forge was specifically designed to combat the Harbinger, it stated. Conventional weapons cannot harm it. It exists partially outside normal spacetime. A communication alert chimed from Patel's wrist device. She checked it and looked up at Reed. Admiral Chen has arrived with the second team. The Horizon is docking now. Reed nodded and turned to the aliens. More of our people are here with supplies and equipment. I suggest you contact your Concordat and arrange for proper diplomatic channels. This just became a formal first contact situation in the middle of a war emergency. Commander Tyr felt overwhelmed, but tried to maintain her authority. This vessel falls under Concordat jurisdiction. We cannot simply allow an unknown species to take control of it. Reed's expression hardened. Commander, with all due respect, we already have control of it. The ship's AI recognizes us as the rightful inheritors. But we're not looking to fight you. We want to work together. Why? Mrek asked suspiciously. Because the Harbinger doesn't care what planet you're from, Reed replied simply. It'll consume everything in its path. Earth, your Concordat worlds, everything. We need each other. The door to the engineering room slid open, and a tall, imposing human female entered. Her uniform was more elaborate than the others, with gleaming insignia on the shoulders. Behind her came more humans carrying equipment. Admiral Chen, Reed said, standing straighter. Meet Commander Visla Tyr of the Concordat exploration vessel Celestial Voyager. Admiral Chen surveyed the aliens with sharp eyes, then nodded. Commander, I understand we have a lot to discuss and not much time to do it. The Harbinger has accelerated its feeding cycle. At current speeds, it will reach Earth in less than 20 days. Tyr looked at the confident humans, at the ancient AI, and at her own team's worried expressions. The universe had suddenly become much more dangerous and strange than anything in the Concordat's extensive databases had prepared them for. And humanity, a species that evolved on a world more deadly than any in known space, might be their only hope of survival. The Harbinger approaches. The next 12 hours aboard the Abyss Forge were a blur of activity. Human engineers worked alongside reluctant Concordat technicians, bringing ancient systems back online. Admiral Chen had established a command center in what was once the ship's bridge, while Commander Tyr maintained constant communication with Concordat headquarters. They don't believe us, Tyr said, her forearms gesturing in frustration as she returned from another call. The High Council thinks this is either a misunderstanding or some elaborate deception. Admiral Chen looked up from a holographic display where she had been studying the ship's weapon systems with Patel. They'll believe when the Harbinger reaches their territory. Unfortunately, that might be too late. The ship's AI, which the humans had dubbed Nexus, materialized beside them. I have completed the historical records transfer. All data on previous encounters with the Harbinger is now available. Reed, Wong, and the Concordat representatives gathered around the central display table. Nexus projected a timeline showing encounters with the Harbinger stretching back nearly 100,000 years. The cycle is consistent, Nexus explained. The Harbinger hibernates for approximately 3,000 years, then awakens and feeds for a period of 40 to 50 years before returning to hibernation. What exactly is it? Captain Mrek asked, his scales shifting color with unease. Nexus displayed a swirling mass of darkness that seemed to bend light around it. The Harbinger is not entirely of this universe. It exists partially in what the progenitors called void space, a region beyond conventional physics. It feeds on energy in all forms, from stars, planets, and living beings. Can it be reasoned with? Izel asked. Martinez let out a short laugh. Can you reason with a black hole? Nexus confirmed. The Harbinger shows no signs of sentience as you would understand it. It is a force of nature, albeit one with purpose. It consumes to survive. Admiral Chen pointed to marks on the timeline. These represent battles? Yes, Nexus said. The progenitors fought the Harbinger across 33 star systems during its last feeding cycle. They used vessels like this one, designed to channel specific energy frequencies that can harm the Harbinger's physical manifestation. Reed studied the battle records. How successful were they? Nexus's holographic face remained neutral, but his voice seemed to carry a note of sadness. They could not destroy the Harbinger. The best outcome was forcing it back into hibernation before it consumed too many inhabited worlds. And the progenitors? Patel asked quietly. What happened to them? They sacrificed their home system, Nexus replied. They created a massive energy trap that forced the Harbinger into early hibernation, but the process destroyed their civilization. The survivors scattered, seeded worlds like Earth. A heavy silence fell over the room. So that's our best-case scenario, Marek said bitterly. Sacrifice entire star systems just to put this thing to sleep for another 3,000 years? No, Reed said firmly. The progenitors didn't have what we have. Which is? Tyre asked. Reed gestured around them. This ship, for one. Their knowledge, and something they didn't have, allies. Admiral Chen nodded. If we combine this ship's technology with modern innovations from both humans and the Concordat, we might find a better solution. A new alert sounded, and Wong checked the sensor readings. We've got company. Big company. The main screen showed a massive fleet of ships approaching their position, sleek, gleaming vessels that dwarfed both the human ships and the celestial Voyager. The Concordat Emergency Response Fleet, Izel explained. They must have taken our warning seriously after all. Admiral Chen didn't look relieved. Nexus, scan those ships. Are they approaching in an attack formation? Nexus paused, then confirmed. Their weapon systems are activated. They are preparing to fire on this vessel. Tyr looked shocked. That's impossible. Why would they attack? A communication request flashed on the screen. Admiral Chen nodded and a new hologram appeared. A tall, thin Quatrian with elaborate robes and cybernetic implants. High Counselor Vex, Tyr said, bowing slightly. The High Counselor ignored her, focusing on the humans. Unidentified species, you have illegally seized a dangerous artifact under Concordat protection. You will surrender the vessel immediately, or be destroyed. Reed stepped forward. High Counselor, we're not seizing anything. We're trying to prepare for a threat that could destroy all our worlds. If you scan the ship, you'll see it's recognized our genetic connection to its builders. Irrelevant, Vex replied coldly. The ship is in Concordat space. Our scientists will study both the vessel and the Harbinger situation. Your species is unregistered and unauthorized for first contact procedures. Patel murmured to Admiral Chen. They don't get it. They think this is about politics. Admiral Chen addressed the High Counselor directly. With respect, there isn't time for bureaucracy. The Harbinger has already consumed 2 of your outer colonies. We have less than 20 days before it reaches populated systems. 18 days, Nexus corrected. Its acceleration continues to increase. High Counselor Vex's expression hardened. Your primitive species cannot possibly understand. He was interrupted as every screen in the room suddenly flashed red. New data poured across the displays. What's happening? Tyre demanded. Nexus's voice was urgent. Long-range sensors detect a massive energy disturbance. The Harbinger has changed course. It's moving much faster than predicted. The main screen showed a star system with 3 planets. As they watched, a darkness spread across the system. One by one, the planets disappeared from the sensors. Finally, the star itself flickered and vanished. That's the Certus system, Izel whispered. Population of over 5 billion. High Counselor Vex's hologram showed the aliens' shock. Impossible. The Certus system is one of our strongest military outposts. Was, Reed corrected quietly. It's gone now. Admiral Chen turned to Nexus. Revised timeline? The AI's calculations appeared on a side screen. At current velocity, the Harbinger will reach Earth in 9 days. It will encounter 8 concordate worlds before that. The High Counselor's arrogance vanished. We need to evacuate those systems immediately. You can't evacuate 8 worlds in 9 days, Martinez said, shaking his head. We need to fight. High Counselor Vex looked at the humans with new respect. Our weapons had no effect on the anomaly at Certus. What makes you think this old ship can do better? Reed gestured to Nexus. Show them. Nexus displayed schematics of the ship's main weapon system. The Abyss Forge generates specific energy frequencies that can disrupt the Harbinger's connection to our space-time. It cannot destroy the Harbinger, but it can repel it. One ship against something that eats stars? Mrek scoffed. That's suicide. Admiral Chen smiled for the first time. Who said anything about one ship? She nodded to Patel, who activated her communication device. A new hologram appeared, showing a massive shipyard hidden in an asteroid field. Humans worked frantically on dozens of partially completed vessels. We've been building, Admiral Chen explained. Since we found this ship 4 months ago, we've been replicating its technology. We have 12 vessels almost ready. The Concordate representatives stared in disbelief. How? Tyr began. How did your species move so quickly? Martinez laughed. When someone tells humans a space monster is coming to eat our planet, we don't form committees. We build weapons. High Counselor Vex studied the shipyard hologram, his cybernetic implants processing the data. Impressive, but still insufficient. Even with 12 more vessels, we're not asking you to stand aside. Admiral Chen interrupted. We're asking you to help. Your fleet has resources we need. Materials, personnel, manufacturing capacity. Together, we might have a chance. Before Vex could respond, the Abyss Forge shuddered violently. Alarms blared throughout the ship. We're under attack, Wong shouted, checking the tactical display. 3 Concordate heavy cruisers have opened fire. High Counselor Vex looked genuinely confused. I gave no such order. Nexus's voice cut through the chaos. Hull integrity at 87%. The progenitor armor is holding, but it will not withstand sustained bombardment. Return fire? Reed asked, looking to Admiral Chen. No, Chen replied, firmly. We didn't come all this way to fight the wrong enemy. Tyr stepped forward. High Counselor, you must order them to cease fire immediately. These humans are telling the truth. Vex hesitated, his political instincts warring with the evidence before him. Another volley struck the Abyss Forge, sending tremors through the deck. Hull integrity at 74%, Nexus reported. Commander, Patel called urgently from a console. Long-range sensors are detecting something else, something big, approaching from Sector 7. The main screen shifted, showing a region of space near a small Concordate mining colony. The stars there seemed to waver, as if viewed through heat distortion. Then, like ink spreading through water, darkness began to fill the screen. Nexus? Admiral Chen asked quietly. Confirmed, the AI replied. The Harbinger has arrived. Estimated time to total consumption of the mining colony, 3 minutes. The attacks on the Abyss Forge suddenly ceased. High Counselor Vex's hologram showed the alien's horror as he watched the Harbingers approach. All ships, he ordered, his voice shaking. Target the anomaly. Full weapons release authorized. The Concordate fleet swung around, unleashing a barrage of firepower that would have destroyed a small moon. Beams of energy and exotic particles struck the darkness and vanished without effect. As we predicted, Nexus stated calmly. Conventional. Weapons cannot harm the Harbinger. They watched in silence as the darkness enveloped the mining colony. The planet's outline glowed briefly, then disappeared. The star flickered next, its light bending inward before it too vanished, leaving only emptiness where a living system had been moments before. High Counselor Vex turned to Admiral Chen, all pretense of superiority gone. What do you need from us? Chen's face was grim but determined. Everything you can spare. engineering teams, raw materials, fabrication facilities, and most importantly, time. "The Abyss Forge is operational," Reed reported. "But it's not at full capacity. We need at least 3 days to bring all systems online." "And your other ships?" Vex asked. "Most are at 60% completion," Patel said. "With Concordate help, we could have 5 ready in a week." "The Harbinger will have consumed 4 more systems by then," Nexus warned. "Then we need to redirect it," Martinez suggested. "Draw it away from populated areas." Reed looked thoughtful. "The Harbinger is attracted to energy. If we could create a large enough energy signature—" "The Virkos Nebula," Izel said suddenly. "It's rich in protostar material, high energy but uninhabited." "It could work," Nexus confirmed after a moment of calculation. "A sufficiently large detonation in the nebula could create an energy signature attractive enough to divert the Harbinger." "How large a detonation?" Admiral Chen asked. "Approximately equivalent to a nova pulse," Nexus replied. The room fell, silent again. "We could modify the Celestial Voyager's drive core," Tyre offered. "Create an unstable reaction that would propagate through the nebula. That would destroy your ship," Reed said softly. Tyre's forearms moved in a gesture of acceptance. "A small price to buy time for billions." High Counselor Vex nodded slowly. "I will coordinate the evacuation of the systems in the Harbinger's path. Commander Tyr, you have authorization to proceed with your plan." "Admiral Chen," Vex continued, "the Concordat formally recognizes humanity as an allied species. All our resources are at your disposal." He paused, then added, "And I apologize for our initial reception." Chen inclined her head. "Under the circumstances, High Counselor, caution was understandable. Now let's save our worlds." As the hologram faded, the bridge erupted into activity. Concordat and human personnel worked side by side, no longer separated by suspicion. "Commander Tyr," Reed said, approaching the Quatrian, "I'd like to volunteer to help with the Celestial Voyager modification. We have experience with unstable drive systems." Tyr's skin shifted to a warm purple, the Quatrian equivalent of a grateful smile. "I would welcome your assistance, Commander Reed." Admiral Chen watched them, then turned to Nexus. "What are our real chances?" The AI's holographic form seemed to consider for a moment. "The progenitors fought the Harbinger for decades with technology more advanced than what we currently possess. They ultimately succeeded in forcing it into hibernation, but at tremendous cost." "That's not an answer," Chen said. "The progenitors fought alone," Nexus replied. "You do not. The combination of human adaptability, concordant resources, and progenitor technology creates variables I cannot fully calculate. There is possibility." Chen nodded. "Possibility is all we've ever needed." Across the bridge, Wong was helping. A concordant technician calibrate a targeting array. The technician, a young Keswick, looked up at him curiously. "Is it true what they say? That your planet is as harsh as this ship?" Wong smiled. "In some ways worse. We have oceans that can dissolve metal, storms that tear apart mountains, and organisms smaller than your eye can see that can kill in hours." "And you evolved there?" the Keswick asked, incredulous. "Not just evolved," Wong replied, tightening a connection. "Thrived. That's what humans do. We take the impossible and make it ordinary." On the main screen, the darkness that was the Harbinger shifted course, moving toward its next target. But now it wasn't advancing unopposed. For the first time in 100,000 years, the descendants of the progenitors stood ready, not just to survive, but to fight back. Reed joined Admiral Chen, watching the preparations underway. "Think we can pull this off?" Chen's eyes remained fixed on the image of the Harbinger. "You know what they used to say back on Earth? Humanity's greatest talent is doing exactly what everyone else thinks is impossible." The Abyss Forge hummed beneath their feet, its ancient systems returning to life, ready to fulfill its purpose once more. Outside, the Concordant fleet moved into defensive formations while communication signals raced across space, warning and organizing. The battle for survival had begun. In the command center, a tactical display showed their 9 operational vessels, 1 ancient progenitor ship and 8 concordant heavy cruisers, arrayed against the encroaching darkness. Not exactly even odds, Martinez observed quietly. When have humans ever needed even odds? Reed replied. Admiral Chen straightened her uniform and addressed the combined human and concordant crew. I won't lie to you. We face an enemy that has destroyed civilizations more advanced than our own. But those civilizations fought alone. We fight together. She gestured to the tactical display. The Celestial Voyager will depart in 6 hours to implement the diversion in the Virgos Nebula. That should buy us the time we need to complete our preparations. When the Harbinger responds to our challenge, we will be ready. And if the diversion fails? Asked a luminary officer. Then we meet it head-on, Chen answered without hesitation. The Harbinger has never faced humans before. It's about to learn why Earth is classified as a death world. As the meeting dispersed, Commander Tier approached Admiral Chen,